Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Maker's Fantasy. My name is Jessica. I hope everyone's having a great day today and getting lots of stuff done. If you're watching me over on Facebook, I hope that you do visit me on YouTube and subscribe to my channel so that you can get notified every time I upload a video like this. I don't want you to miss any of my helpful tips. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to properly resize any file using Lightburn Silhouette Studio Business Edition and Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to have the timestamps in the video for you so that you can go back or go to the software that you use and watch from there. Okay, so just a little quick rundown about files. If you purchase files from me or from any other designer, you can resize them yourself. Now, you do have to be careful of a couple of things, and that's what I'm going to go over with you today. So, I sell jewelry files, and I sell a lot of earring files. And I have two earring files here on the screen right now. Now, this is Lightburn, okay? I'm going to start with Lightburn. I'm going to go to Illustrator, and then I will go to Silhouette Studio and show you there. So, two things that I want you to be aware of. So, if you purchase a file from someone, let's say you buy this file from me. This is my roller skate file. And this was or is only available to members in my Fantasy File Club. If you don't know what my Fantasy File Club is, make sure you go to makersfantasy.com and you can click on Join Fantasy File Club to get more information about that. But it's an exclusive file. Anyway, so I have this highlighted, and as you can see, if you come up here to the width height section of this panel, you can see that the height is 1.7 inches, and this is the width. Okay, so if you think that that is, I don't know, let's say that's too big, okay, and you want to resize it, make sure that you have this locked, okay, and that's going to ensure that the scale on this is proportioned, right? Because we don't want any of the sides to get all stretched out. So to do this, well, excuse me, let me go back to what I was saying. So if I was to shrink this, all right, and now I'm going to check this hole, okay? I just clicked on the hole. And you can see that it's only 0.04. This has to be, if this is a one-layer design and you're using 1/8 inch material, this needs to be at least 0.07, okay? So as you can see, now if we did this and we just went ahead and said, oh, you know what, I'm going to shrink this down. The height is about 1 inch. I think that's great. If you cut it like this, you're not going to be able to get your jump ring through that hole. We will have to adjust that hole, okay? So, to do that, I'm just going back on all of this. All right, so we have our file here, and sometimes you're going to have two types of files or designs. Now, for this one, there is an extra tab up here, okay, that has the circle. Now on this design down here with the cupcake, as you can see, the hole is actually right into the frosting and into the cake, okay? So it's actually in the design. It is not an extra tab like this roller skate that is added on top. All right, so with that, I'm going to demonstrate for you both ways. So if you have either one of these files, you will be able to properly resize them and keep everything intact. All right, so first things first, when I do anything, I want to get rid of the other half. I only want to work with one because we don't want to repeat these steps for the other side because they're identical. Now we're going to grab all these pieces and we're basically going to set them in the middle. Okay, and we're going to just resize all this stuff together. And the reason why I'm doing this I'm going to group those wheels together, but the reason why I'm doing this is because when I highlight everything, I want those pieces of the file to be included, but I don't necessarily want them to affect the overall size. So as you can see, this piece is hanging off a little bit. That's okay, because for this design example, I'm going to only really go on the height of this design. So if it hangs off a little bit on the side, you know, that's okay. If you want to change the dimension based on the width, then make sure that that piece is not hanging in there. You can go ahead and like adjust it like this, and don't let it hang off of the sides. You know, it can hang off the top or the bottom if you're not concerned about that dimension or adjusting that particular one. All right, so I have all these pieces. They're like laying on top of my main skate backer. I'm going to highlight everything, and then I'm going to come up here to this little size panel here. Now, again, make sure it's locked. It should be, but just in case it isn't, make sure that this little lock is locked. And then, okay, so it's a height of 1.7 inches. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to make that 1. Okay, so as you can see, it shrunk everything. I'm going to click off of that. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to take all these pieces off because we shrunk these pieces proportionately with the skate backer with the jump ring hole. And this is the part that we really are going to be editing, but we did want to get those other pieces to scale proportionately with the backer. Okay, so we did that, we got them out of the way, and now we're going to focus on this. So when I click on this, you can see that everything highlights. Okay, so how am I going to adjust this hole? For those of you who are not familiar with Lightburn or just learning, you're going to right click on this, and then you can go down. There's an option for ungroup. You're going to ungroup and then click off. All right, so then if I just click on that little circle, that should be available for me to click and just highlight the circle. Now, if there's more elements to this design and you're still not only able to highlight the circle, maybe you click on the circle and it's highlighting something else as well, just continue to do the same thing. Right click, ungroup, right click, ungroup, until the jump ring circle is the only thing available, and you will go ahead and click on that and highlight it, okay? Now, as you can see, if I, let's see, for this design, because it's a double layer, on double layered designs, if I use 1/8 inch material, see, for my acrylic designs, the top layer is always 1/8 of an inch, and then the backer, which is this piece of the skate here that I use, will be 1/16 inch. Okay, so with that being said, with those two layers, I like to design with a 0.09 jump ring hole. All right, so our hole has to be this. If I'm using double layers, okay? Now, if I'm using a single layer, which this particular tab here is going to be a single layer because all of these other layers here don't have the jump ring hole in, it's just the backer. So with that, I can get away with doing 0.07, okay? So, but as you can see, this little, this is too thin. If I went ahead and, just went with this, that is way too thin, and because of kerf, it's just going to burn right through that, or it's going to make that little loop paper thin and you'll never be able to use it. I do plan on making another video on kerf later, so if you guys are interested in that and want to know what that is and how to adjust it and everything else, that video is coming. It'll be later. But for right now, this is too thin. It's not going to work. So what we're going to need to do is I just go ahead and take this, I right click and duplicate, okay? So from here, I am just going to drag it out and make sure that it's centered with my jump ring hole, okay? And I'm going to see here, I'm looking at both of these. I just highlighted both. I got my jump ring hole, which is 0.07, and then I hold down the shift key on my keyboard and then click on the outside circle that I created. So now we have both of them highlighted, and I'm just doing that so I can see the distance from the circles and if that's going to be enough room to give us a strong tab. So now I think it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight, click on the larger circle, and then I'm going to hold down my shift key on my keyboard and then click on the skate to highlight both of those. I'm not going to grab the actual new jump ring hole that I created there. I'm going to come over here to the side panel to these 3 squares that are kind of jumbled together. This is weld, okay? It's going to weld the shapes that we have highlighted together. Now what that does is it gives us a new little tab that is larger and thicker. Now if this still isn't thick enough, then you can repeat the process. Click on your jump ring hole, right click, duplicate, and then stretch it out even larger and repeat the process. Now I actually think that that's just fine the way it was. But there you go. And so then you will go ahead and highlight both of these pieces. And don't forget this guy down here. And then Command G to group it. Okay? Or you can right click and go down, and group would have been highlighted, but I just grouped it using my keyboard shortcut. But you can group and ungroup by right clicking on that. All right, so this is good to go. This is perfectly fine, and then you can cut all your pieces and everything is going to fit great. All right, so moving on. We're going to move on to, one more thing. So if I was to use this to get the other side of the shoe so it can be mirrored, okay, we're going to highlight all of our pieces here. We're going to right click and duplicate. Okay, it just puts it on top. So we're going to drag it over here. Everything is still highlighted, and then we're going to come up to this little mirrored triangle, and it's going to flip it for us. Okay, so now if you see here, we have both sides. Okay, and then we can just kind of bring our pieces together, match them up, so that way when we cut them out of our material, we can use each one for a separate color that we want. All right, so that is that. Now for this one, let's see if we click on our circle, it's going to highlight everything. Now I'm going to get rid of this particular piece. Like I said, I just like to work with one. Alright, so it's highlighting everything. Right click, go down to ungroup and click off of it. Oh, now it's highlighting the top. Right click, ungroup, click off of it. Alright, so now we have just the hole here. Okay, so if we highlight everything, and I'm going to ignore those little topper flames over here for now. Alright, so if we highlight this, and let's say I also want to make this about 1 inch, okay? So now everything is 1 inch, everything was scaled together. If I click on my jump ring hole, you can see that it's 0.06. This particular cupcake design is a hinged design, so it's in 2 pieces and they will be connected here with jump rings. So it's going to be a single layer, I know that. But it's not quite the 0.07 that I need. So my jump ring probably won't fit in this hole. It's not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and, make sure that this is locked. Change this to 0.07. I'm going to come in here, and it looks very, very close to this edge. So I'm going to just bring it down away from the edge. That looks much better. So I know that that's going to give me a sturdier jump ring hole there. All right, and so same thing here. I'm going to 0.07. Okay, and let's see. It is a little close, but I think that one is fine. And this, it's very close to 0.07 anyway. Now, when I have two jump rings like this, I like to go ahead and click on both of them. And then come up here to these two rectangles on the line and go down to Align H Center. And now what that does is it really just evens them out. Now, some designs you can't do like this. It just really depends. As you can see, if I do that, there's more space here. I don't really like that, so I'm just gonna go back and leave it like that. Okay. So there, those are good, and I think these are actually good too. Ungroup those so I can see what this hole is. It looks rather large, yeah. So it's pretty much 0.07 anyway, but if it wasn't, then I would just change it. Okay, so once I have all that done, in order for you to go ahead and like cut this and stuff and be able to manipulate it, just go ahead and highlight it, and then you can use, if you're on a Mac, which I have a MacBook, you can do Command G. I love to do the keyboard shortcuts. It makes things so much faster, but if you don't, you can just right click and then group, okay? And so that way when you click on this, it's just one piece, and you can cut that out of one piece of acrylic, and then this one as well. Go ahead and group it. Okay, so there is that. All right, so that was the Lightburn example. Now we're going to jump over here. This is Adobe Illustrator, okay? And this is a file that I'm working on right now. This is a s'mores earring file, and it's actually rather large. So for my s'mores earring file, does not have this little tab on it. It's actually right in the s'more. But for this example in Illustrator, again, I wanted to give you both versions for this on how you would do it. Okay, so the more simple one here, we're going to right click just like we did in Lightburn, and we're going to go ahead and ungroup that. All right, and now you can do this actually before you ungroup it, you can go ahead and resize it if you want. It doesn't really matter, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, so I have that highlighted, and so the transform little panel for the height and width is going to be over here on the right. It's under properties, okay? You should have this properties over here. And so for the width, it's 2 inches, and the height is about 1.5 inch. So let's just say, and the little lock for this one is right here. This maintains width and height proportions, okay? That's the lock. Now it's unlocked, and it's locked. All right, so for the height, let's just say I want to make this guy 1 inch. And so for this example, also, I'm going to go ahead and make it 1 inch high, 1 inch tall. All right, so I'm going to highlight my jump ring circle. So I'm going to come over here, and it says that it is only 0.05 inches. So go ahead and change that. Now this is a layered design, so I'm going to go ahead and do 0.09 because I know I'm going to be layering multiple layers of acrylic on this, or at least 2. So that was very close to the edge. It's going to burn right through, so I'm going to bring it down to about here. Okay. Now, on this one, if you have a layered design, you're going to have to adjust both layers for that hole. This is a kind of tricky part, but it's totally doable with some practice, okay? So, the top pieces here of my graham crackers, they are grouped, okay? So I'm going to ungroup them, and I'm really going to try to isolate this, okay? And actually, what I should have done, let's go back because I made a mistake. I forgot to size everything together like I did in the first video, okay? So let's get everything in here. Now this one, I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna ungroup these and delete one of them. This one, ungroup, delete one, and this one I'm going to right click, ungroup, click off, and delete one. Okay, so we have all of our pieces, right? And remember, get all your pieces in the middle. I'm sorry that I forgot that step and when I started, but here you go. All right, so go ahead and highlight that, and I wanted to go with the height, so I'm gonna go and do 1. And for this one, we'll just say that we did it that way too. So then, all these pieces in the center can come out, and they are gonna fit. They're gonna be the correct proportions that we're gonna need. Okay, so for this one, because we're going to have the same hole, because this graham cracker layer is literally going to be on the top of this earring, because this part is the backer. So we're going to go ahead and adjust this again to 0.09, and we're going to get it away from the edge so it's not so close. All right, so there we go. Now, I'm going to highlight these and Command G or right click and group those. Okay, so it's all one piece. Now for this, I'm going to try and align this to where it goes right here on the design. Okay, so we can see what's up. Now, with this we have highlighted, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to ungroup it because I'm trying to isolate the jump ring hole. Okay, I got it. I got the jump ring hole here, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to change it to 0.09, and then I'm going to bring it right on top of the hole here. Okay, now what we can do, zoom out a little bit, is just grab the backer and slide it out from underneath. Because we grouped it with its hole right here, it slid right down with no problem. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of this and Command G and go ahead and group it back again. All right, so there we go. This one is ready to go. So, so with this one, what are we going to do? Okay, it's the same thing pretty much in all of the various softwares that you may use. It's just different buttons, pretty much. Same concept. All right, so we're going to ungroup it, right click and ungroup. We're going to just get our little jump ring hole. We do know that because this is a tab design, this is going to just be one layer, at least with my files. Now, if it's someone else's file that you purchased from, they may do theirs a different way, but if it's a tab, if the backer of my earrings or my jewelry has a tab on it, then it's only going to be one layer for that backer. It's not going to be multiple layers. So for this one, all I have to worry about is 0.07. Okay, now to be fair, this actually looks fine. It doesn't necessarily look like it may be too thin, but let's just say it is. Okay, now there's two ways that you can do this. I'm going to hold down the Option key on my Mac keyboard and slide this over to just duplicate it. You can, just to show you. So I have this circle, and then down here, still under the Properties panel, if you go down, this is Offset Path. Okay, so this can give you another circle around the circle that we have in varying sizes and stuff, right? So as you can see, if I did point, I pressed enter. But if you do this, you can adjust the size here. Now, if you don't want to click enter, but you want the preview, you can click the number 4 and you can see how big, right? And then if you change the number, if I did 6 and click the 4, then you can kind of see. And we'll just say for this example, that's good, okay? So we could, put this here I'm just going to stick it here on the side just for this example, but let's just pretend that I put it on top of this one. Just like in Lightburn, if you watched that method, we're going to highlight the outside circle, and then we're going to highlight, hold down the shift key and get both of these highlighted, the outside of the backer. Now in the properties panel, if you go down here to Pathfinder, these two solid squares that are kind of stuck together, this is the unite. So if you go ahead and click that, then you can see it adds the tab on there. So if we wanted to just resize that, you know, like I said, we could just put it over that and do the same method and it would adjust. Now I'm going to show you the other way if you don't want to use the offset path way to do it, okay? So I am going to, let's see. All right, so hold down the Option key on the Mac keyboard. I think if you have a Windows computer, I believe it would be Alt. I believe you would hold down Alt and then drag it, and it would give you the same function. But hold down the Option key and drag it over to duplicate. Now I don't have, I don't think that you can see my top bar up here, but it would be, let's see, trying to find how you would duplicate it. To be honest, I don't even know because I don't do it without the keyboard shortcuts. But if you do go to Edit and you go down to keyboard shortcuts here, you'll be able to figure out your keyboard shortcut to duplicate if you have a Mac, okay? You can also copy and paste. So if you were to highlight this and then go up to Edit, you can copy right here. And then if you wanted to, you can paste in place. That will paste that hole exactly on top of the same place that it was in the first place. Or you can just paste, and I think it will paste it like off to the side a little bit. But anyway, so we have this here. Excuse me. You're gonna have to hold down your shift and then go ahead and pull it out a little bit. And you have to hold down shift to, scale this, because if you don't, it can make it all, wonky. So we do that, and I'm going to make it bigger. Okay, and you would put it right over the jump ring hole here. All right, and same exact thing that we did before. We're going to highlight the larger circle, and we're going to highlight our backer, and then we're going to come down here and unite them there. Okay, and so that gives you another way to enlarge the tab for the jump ring. Okay, so that is the 2 versions for Adobe Illustrator. So now, heading over to Silhouette Studio, this is the business edition. So if you want to edit your files or do anything with SVGs in Silhouette, you must have the Silhouette Business Edition, okay? You may be able to use the Designer Edition, but I'm pretty sure it's the Business Edition. Let me check this. Yeah, okay. In order to create, I just looked it up on Google on my phone real quick, and it says, in order to create SVG files in Silhouette Studio, you will need to have the Business Edition of Silhouette Studio. You can open SVGs with the Designer Edition, but in order to save them as an SVG file, after designing and or modifying them, you need the Business Edition. All right, so it's $100. It's a one-time fee, and then once you pay that one-time fee, you have it for life. Okay, so if you want to use the Silhouette Studio and you don't want to go paying monthly for any other software, and you don't have Lightburn software for your particular laser, this is a great option. It's only $100. I know for some people $100 is a pretty big investment, but it is just that. It's an investment, and it is worth it if you need to edit or create or design files, okay? All right, so here I went in and I created 2 versions of my camera earrings, and for this version, it is joined. So just like the other softwares, we're going to right click and we're going to go down to ungroup because I want to isolate this, the hole. All right. Oh, once again, I am always forgetting. We have to bring our stuff inside. We have to tuck everything that we want to resize with it in here. So I'm going to go group that back again. All right, so I'm going to click on this. Let's just say we have all of our pieces in, and you're going to go over here to the 3 tall rectangles on the line. This is the transform panel. So you're going to go ahead and open that up, and then you're going to go to this line with the 2 arrows on the end. All right, this is the scale panel. And if you come down here, you can see, you can specify the dimensions. Make sure that this is locked. If you unlock it, then you're not going to be scaling proportionately. Go ahead and make sure that's locked to maintain the ratio. And then let's do it like we did with the other ones, okay? Let's just say we want to do like a 0.7 for the height on these earrings. And we're going to highlight this, all of it. And do the same thing. Now for this one, I believe that because I have everything in here, it's not going to let me do this. No. Okay, so it's not going to let me do that with everything here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to group it. All right, so did you see what I did? I highlighted all of the pieces and I grouped them together. Once you group it together, then it will show you the dimensions here, and then you can edit them proportionately. So I'm going to go ahead and change the height to 0.7. All right, and so then I'm going to come over here, right click, and ungroup that. All right, so we're going to take our little camera out. Now, you know, the lens and everything else that we have here will still fit, okay? That's still going to go in there. That's still going to go in here correctly. It's all still scaled and proportioned, and it's going to fit. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see. All right. So now I'm going to go back in and ungroup this, and we're going to take a look at this hole. Now, as you can see, I still have my scale panel up. The hole is only 0.041. We know that's not good. This particular file is a single layer, so I'm just going to do 0.07. Now, take a look. See how close it is to the edge? That is way too close. So I'm going to scoot it back a little bit. All right, let's look. I think that'll be okay. Let's see, it's trying to snap to an invisible grid here. All right, let me get a little closer here. Okay. My Silhouette Studio is a little bit slow. I think it's because I have so many different softwares open. The Silhouette just can never keep up with me. All right. Yeah, it's trying to snap. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah. All right, so I'm using the arrows on my keyboard just to get it like nudged down a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna go with this. I think that looks good, and so I'm gonna go ahead and highlight all those pieces again, Command G to group, and of course you could right click and then group. All right, so let's look at this bad boy. Same thing with the other things. We're gonna right click, ungroup, and we want this little circle right here. So for that little circle, with the tab, it's definitely going to be a single layer, so 0.07 will be just fine for our purposes, and that's not going to work. That's going to be way too thin. It's not even going to be usable at this point, okay? The laser is just going to burn that whole thing off. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this circle. We're going to come up here to the top. These two cubes next to each other is duplicate. So we're going to go ahead and click duplicate. It's going to give us another circle. We're going to hold down the shift key and we're going to scale this other circle to be larger, okay? Just like we did with the other softwares. All right, so now we have it over our 0.7 jump ring, and it is highlighted. The larger circle is highlighted. And so then we're going to hold down our shift key and then click the camera. Oh, here it is. Then we're going to come up here, the rectangle and the circle that are kind of stuck together here as one piece. This is the weld. All right, so we're going to click weld. And then boom, look at that. It gives us a bigger, thicker jump ring hole tab thingy that we can work with. Okay, and so then as always, go back in, highlight everything, Command G, or right click and group. All right. Now, if you have anything like this, you're going to have to do the same thing with this. This is the topper. This is a stud topper that goes for these cameras. It's optional. All toppers are optional. You don't have to. This is just so you can make them studs instead of using like an ear wire or some kind of hook or something like that. If you want to use these cameras as dangle earrings, but also stud hardware. That's what toppers are for. I call them toppers. I don't know what everybody else calls them, but I've nicknamed them stud toppers. So that's what we're going to go with. And again, so I ungrouped everything. I highlighted the circle, and I'm going to come over here to the transform panel. Make sure that I highlight this one with the line and the arrows. It's the scale, and then come down here and make it 0.07. Stud toppers are always one layer. I mean, unless you're gluing two layers together, but that's really pointless and a waste of material. I wouldn't suggest it. So the studs are always, the stud toppers are always going to be one layer, so you can go ahead and do 0.07 on that. And that's too close to the edge, so I have to, well, if I do it with my with my mouse, it's wanting to snap everything. So I'm just going to slide it up with my the arrows on my keyboard. So I'm going to nudge it a little bit up. Oop, oop, oop. It's still going. My Silhouette Studio. Okay. All right, so that's going to be good. And now also I do want to just mention that with these stud toppers, you don't want them anything less than ½ inch. Like if you are scaling the rest of your stuff, don't make these toppers less than ½ inch. Like it's just not going to work. So I wouldn't be scaling them at all. I would not be scaling them or adjusting their jump rings. That was literally just for you know, for example's sake, pretty much. But if you did, if you had to, if you wanted to, whatever, that's how you would do it, okay? All right, so hopefully that was helpful. And again, if you did find this helpful, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified. Click the bell, do all of the YouTube thingies, and I don't know, catch me in another video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.